The crystal chandelier cast prismatic shadows across my parents' mahogany dining table as I adjusted the sleeves of my burgundy blazer. The fabric whispered against my skin, Italian wool that cost more than my old monthly grocery budget, but tonight called for armor that commanded respect. My sister Victoria held court at the head of the table, her perfectly manicured fingers gesturing as she recounted her latest courtroom triumph. The golden child basking in our parents' adoration while I sat invisible in the shadows, as always. The jury deliberated for only 47 minutes, Victoria announced, her voice carrying that practiced confidence that had always made me feel small. Fastest verdict in the firm's history for a case of this magnitude. Mother clasped her hands together, diamonds catching the light. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We always knew you'd change the world, darling. Father raised his wine glass, the burgundy liquid swirling like liquid rubies. To our Victoria, the daughter who makes us proud every single day. The words hit like a physical blow, but I'd learned to absorb them without flinching. 28 years of being the afterthought, the disappointment, the daughter who never quite measured up to perfection incarnate. Hanna, pass the wine, Mother said without looking my way, the first acknowledgement of my existence in 30 minutes. I complied silently, my hand trembling slightly as I set the bottle within reach. Actually, I wanted to share some news too. Did you hear about Victoria's promotion consideration? Father interrupted, his eyes never leaving my sister's face. Senior partner track at 31. Unprecedented. My words dissolved into the familiar silence of being unheard. I folded my hands in my lap and waited, counting the beats of my heart, measuring the depth of my invisibility. Victoria's laugh tinkled like wind chimes. Oh, Hanna probably has some cute little office update. Don't you, sis? The condescension in her voice made my jaw clench. Cute little office update. As if my life was a series of minor inconveniences compared to her grand achievements. I'm implementing a new financial compliance system, I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. That's nice, dear, Mother said, already turning back to Victoria. Now tell us more about the judge's comments. I excused myself to the powder room, staring at my reflection in the ornate mirror. The woman looking back had hollow eyes and slumped shoulders, a ghost haunting her own life. But deep in those tired eyes, something else flickered. Something that had been building for 5 years, fed by every dismissal, every ignored contribution, every moment of being treated like a convenient shadow. When I returned to the table, the conversation had moved to Victoria's upcoming vacation to the Maldives. Marcus is taking me to that new resort, she gushed. The one with the overwater bungalows. You deserve every luxury, sweetheart, Father beamed. Success should be rewarded. Unlike some people who seem content with mediocrity, Mother added, her gaze sliding toward me with surgical precision. Honestly, Hanna, you're barely half the woman your sister is. The dining room fell silent except for the tick of the antique grandfather clock. The words hung in the air like poison gas, seeping into every corner of the space. My hands stilled on my napkin. 5 years of silence. 5 years of sacrifice. 5 years of being their secret lifeline while they painted me as the family failure. I set down my wine glass with deliberate care. Then let her pay for this house. The sentence landed like a bomb in the pristine dining room. Victoria's champagne flute froze halfway to her lips. Father's fork clattered against bone china. Mother's face drained of color so rapidly I wondered if she might collapse. What did you just say? Father's voice carried a dangerous edge. I pulled my phone from my purse, fingers steady as I opened my banking app. You heard me correctly. Hanna, this is hardly appropriate dinner conversation, Mother stammered, rising from her chair. Perhaps we should discuss dessert instead. No. The word came out stronger than I'd intended, surprising even myself. We're going to discuss the mortgage payments I've been making for 5 years. I turned my phone screen toward them, displaying my transaction history. May 3, 2019. Emergency transfer, $3,200. To prevent foreclosure, you said. Just this once. Victoria's confusion was morphing into something that looked like horror. What are you talking about? I scrolled through the digital evidence of my financial bleeding. June 2019, July 2019, August 2019. Every month for 60 months. Between $1,400 and $2,800, depending on whatever crisis mysteriously appeared. Now see here, Father blustered, his commanding presence cracking. We've had some temporary setbacks. Temporary? I laughed, a sound devoid of humor. 5 years isn't temporary. It's systematic exploitation. I stood, no longer content to deliver this revelation from a position of submission. Did you know, Victoria? Did you know that while you were buying your penthouse and taking exotic vacations, I was keeping Mom and Dad from losing everything? Victoria slowly shook her head, her perfect composure fracturing. They told me they were helping you financially. They said you were struggling to make ends meet. The irony tasted bitter as copper pennies. Struggling? Yes, I was struggling. Because I was funding their lifestyle while living on ramen and thrift store clothes. Family supports family, Mother said weakly, tears gathering in her eyes. That's how we raised you. Family supports family, I repeated, savoring each word. But apparently I'm not really family, am I? I'm just a convenient ATM. The backup plan you never acknowledge. Victoria set down her glass carefully, her lawyer's mind clearly calculating. How much, Hanna? Total? I met her eyes directly for the first time all evening. $97,000. The number hung in the air like an executioner's axe. Father choked on his wine, coughing violently. When he recovered, his face was purple with indignation. That's preposterous. We never asked for such an amount. No, you asked for it in convenient monthly installments. My house down payment. My MBA fund. My entire future, handed over one crisis at a time. Mother's tears were flowing freely now. How can you be so cruel? After everything we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me? The question came out colder than I'd intended, but I didn't soften it. Besides, treat me like your personal bank account? The silence stretched taut as piano wire. In that moment, I felt something fundamental shift inside me. The desperate need for their approval that had driven me for 28 years simply evaporated. I was done. The memories flooded back as I sat in my car outside their house, hands shaking on the steering wheel. The first call had come on a Tuesday night in May 2019. I was reviewing quarterly reports in my small apartment when the phone rang at 11:43 p.m. Hanna? Mother's voice was thick with panic. I didn't know who else to call. Fear shot through me. What's wrong? Is someone hurt? The house, we're going to lose the house. The next 20 minutes blurred together, foreclosure notices, business failures, missed mortgage payments. Dad's architectural firm had lost 3 major clients. They had 30 days before auction. How much? I asked, already pulling up my bank account. $3,200, she whispered. Just to stop the process. Your father's too proud to ask, but I'm desperate. My screen glowed in the dark apartment, showing the savings I'd accumulated through 3 years of overtime and careful budgeting. My house fund, the down payment that would finally let me escape apartment living. We'll pay you back the moment the Riverside project comes through, Mother promised. This is just temporary, sweetheart. I transferred the money. That first payment felt like salvation. I was finally the daughter they needed, the one who could solve their problems. For a brief, shining moment, I mattered. The second call came 3 weeks later. Technical issues with the payment processing, Mother explained, her voice carrying a new note of expectation rather than desperation. The third call didn't come at all. Instead, I received a text, "Mortgage company needs June payment early. Can you handle? Love you." By the 6th month, I'd set up automatic transfers. It was easier than the constant emotional manipulation, the tearful gratitude, the empty promises of repayment. My savings account emptied. My house fund evaporated. I deferred my MBA acceptance for the second time, then the third. Meanwhile, Victoria's social media blazed with achievements, new car, expensive dinners, weekend getaways. Her life sparkled while mine withered in the shadows of their financial desperation. The cruelest part wasn't the money itself. It was the systematic erasure of my contributions. Family dinners where they praised Victoria's natural financial responsibility while I sat silent, knowing I was funding their ability to maintain appearances. "Your sister has such a good head for money," Mother would say. "She's never needed help from anyone." The lie tasted like ash in my mouth every time. I returned to my apartment that night and opened my laptop with surgical precision. If they wanted to play games with family loyalty, it was time they learned I could play better. First, I compiled every piece of evidence. Bank statements, text messages, email conversations, desperate voicemails from the early days. 5 years of documentation that painted a picture of systematic financial manipulation. Then I made copies. Physical printouts, digital backups, cloud storage. Evidence scattered across multiple platforms, insurance against any attempt to make this disappear. But documentation was just the foundation. What I needed was leverage. I started with a simple internet search, Victoria Pemberton Attorney. Her firm's website appeared first, showcasing her as a rising star in corporate law. But I dug deeper, into legal databases and bar association records. What I found made me smile for the first time in weeks. Victoria's success story wasn't quite as pristine as she presented. 3 client complaints, 2 ethics reviews, 1 suspended case under investigation. Nothing career-ending, but enough to show cracks in the golden facade. I screenshot everything. Next, I researched our parents' finances. Property records, business filings, tax assessments. Public information that painted a very different picture than their poverty narrative. The house was worth $800,000. Dad's firm had contracts worth millions. Their joint investment account held more than I'd paid toward their mortgage. They weren't broke. They were lazy and entitled, using me as their personal lending institution while maintaining their lifestyle. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria, "We need to talk. This mortgage thing doesn't make sense." I ignored it and continued working. By 3 a.m., I had a comprehensive dossier on my family's deception. Financial records, timelines, photographic evidence of their luxury purchases made with my money. Everything I needed for the nuclear option. But first, I wanted to give them a chance to make it right. Not out of forgiveness, that ship had sailed, but because watching them squirm would be infinitely more satisfying than immediate destruction. I composed a simple email to all 3 of them. Subject: Family Financial Review. I've compiled comprehensive documentation of all financial transactions between us over the past 5 years. Tomorrow evening, we're going to have an honest conversation about repayment terms and timeline. If you're interested in resolving this privately within the family, I'll be available from 7 to 8 p.m. After that, I'll be exploring other options. Best regards, Hannah. I hit send and went to bed, sleeping better than I had in years. The next evening, my apartment doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. I opened it to find all three of them standing in the hallway, their faces carefully arranged into masks of concern and indignation. "This melodrama has gone far enough," Father announced, pushing past me into my living room. "We need to clear up this misunderstanding before you embarrass yourself further." I closed the door and leaned against it, crossing my arms. "I'm listening." Mother perched on the edge of my couch, her handbag clutched like a shield. "Darling, family financial arrangements are complex. You can't simply reduce them to accounting." "Actually, I can," I replied. "That's what accounting is for." Victoria remained standing near the window, her lawyer instincts clearly on high alert. "Hannah, if you feel we owe you money, we can work out a payment plan. But this scorched earth approach isn't necessary." I walked to my coffee table and picked up a thick folder I'd prepared. "Let's review the facts, shall we?" The next 30 minutes were methodical destruction disguised as family discussion. I walked. "May 2019, foreclosure emergency, you said. Yet your business account showed $47,000 that same month. September 2020, roof repair emergency. Your homeowner's insurance claim was approved for $18,000. Where did that money go? February 2022, medical bills mother couldn't cover. Yet you took a cruise 3 weeks later." With each revelation, their explanations became more desperate, their unity more fractured. Father blamed mother's spending. Mother blamed the business difficulties. Both implied Victoria should have been more aware of the family's needs. "This is exactly the problem," I said finally. "You've spent 5 years treating me like your personal bank while positioning Victoria as the successful daughter. But here's what you failed to consider." I opened my laptop and turned it toward them, showing the email I'd already drafted but not yet sent. The recipient list included Victoria's law firm partners, their church congregation, extended family members, and several local business contacts. The subject line read, "The real story behind the Pemberton family's success." "Hannah, you wouldn't," Mother whispered. "I would," I replied. "In fact, I will. Unless we reach an agreement right now." Victoria stepped forward, her professional negotiation mode activated. "What do you want?" I'd been waiting for this question for 5 years. "Full repayment. $97,000, plus 5% annual interest. Total amount, $121,250. They started to protest, but I held up a hand. "Or, I send this email tonight, along with copies to the local newspaper's investigative reporter who's been looking for stories about family financial fraud." The room fell silent except for the hum of my refrigerator. "We don't have that kind of liquid cash," Father said finally. "Then sell something. Downsize. Take out a loan. Figure it out the way I had to figure out how to survive on ramen while funding your champagne lifestyle." Victoria pulled out her phone. "I can liquidate some investments." "Good. You have 72 hours. And if we pay?" Mother asked, her voice barely audible. "Then this stays private. But I'm done being your safety net. After this payment, we have no financial relationship. None. Ever." Father's face was mottled red and white with rage. "You ungrateful little Choose your next words very carefully, I interrupted, my voice carrying a steel edge I'd never heard before. Because right now, you still have the option of private humiliation. Public destruction is still on the table. They left in silence. The payment arrived in my account 67 hours later, wired in 3 separate transactions. Victoria's contribution was the largest, followed by the liquidation of their emergency fund, then the sale of Mother's jewelry collection. I deposited the money and immediately transferred half to a high-yield investment account. The other half went toward a down payment on a 2-bedroom condo across town. But payment was only the beginning of my revenge. True satisfaction required something more surgical. I enrolled in a financial consulting certification program, using their repayment as seed money for a new career path. Within 6 months, I was offering workshops on recognizing and escaping financial manipulation at community centers and women's shelters. My first client was a young woman whose parents had been using her student loan money to maintain their lifestyle. Sound familiar? The workshops grew. I wrote articles for financial magazines about family financial abuse. I spoke at conferences about setting healthy money boundaries. And at every single event, I told a carefully anonymized version of my own story. The dutiful daughter who discovered her worth the day she stopped funding other people's dreams. My parents watched from the sidelines as I built a career from the wreckage of their manipulation. Victoria, interestingly, began referring clients to my workshops, women she encountered in divorce cases who needed help establishing financial independence. It took them 6 months to understand the true scope of my revenge. I hadn't just extracted repayment. I'd turned their abuse into my expertise, their manipulation into my mission. Every success I achieved was built on the foundation of their betrayal, transformed into something that helped others escape similar situations. 1 year later, I received an invitation to speak at the National Conference on Family Financial Ethics. The keynote address would be broadcast to financial professionals across the country. I RSVP'd yes and began preparing my presentation. Not an anonymized version this time, but the full story. Names, amounts, timeline, consequences. 3 days before the conference, my phone rang. Mother's number appeared on the screen for the first time since our apartment confrontation. Hanna? We saw the conference announcement. Did you? Please. Don't do this to our family. I walked to my condo window, looking out at the city view I'd purchased with their repayment money. Our family? I thought I was barely half a woman compared to Victoria. Silence. I thought I was the disappointment. The one who needed help instead of the one providing it. We made mistakes, she whispered. You made choices. For 5 years, you chose to use me. Now I'm choosing to use that experience to help others. What if we publicly acknowledged what you did for us? Would that change anything? I considered this. A public apology might satisfy some wounded part of me, but it wouldn't undo 5 years of financial exploitation and emotional abuse. No, I said finally. But thank you for confirming that you understand exactly what you did to me. I hung up and deleted her contact information. The conference presentation went exactly as planned. Afterward, 3 book agents approached me about writing a memoir. 2 documentary filmmakers expressed interest in my story. A victims' rights organization invited me to join their board. My revenge was complete not through their destruction, but through my transformation. They'd created their own monster by teaching me that family love was conditional on financial utility. Now I was teaching others that lesson, one workshop at a time. 5 years have passed since that dinner party revelation. I own a thriving financial consulting firm specializing in family money trauma. My memoir, The Family ATM, spent 18 weeks on bestseller lists. Victoria and I maintain a cordial relationship built on mutual respect and complete financial independence. She refers clients to me. I occasionally provide expert testimony for her cases. My parents live quietly in a smaller house, their social circle significantly reduced after the truth emerged through various channels. They've never contacted me directly, though I hear through Victoria that they follow my career success with what she diplomatically calls complicated pride. I don't hate them anymore. Hatred requires too much energy, and I've channeled all of mine into building something meaningful from the wreckage of their betrayal. But I haven't forgiven them either. Forgiveness implies they've earned it, and some actions are simply unforgivable. Instead, I've moved beyond them entirely. They're footnotes in my success story now, cautionary tale characters whose greed and manipulation accidentally created something powerful. Every woman I help escape financial abuse is my revenge. Every boundary I teach someone to set is my victory. Every time I look at my investment portfolio, built from their repayment and grown through my expertise, I smile. They wanted a compliant daughter who would quietly fund their lifestyle while accepting their crumbs of affection. Instead, they created their own reckoning. And that, I've discovered, is the sweetest revenge of all.